بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. This information is important for anyone who is interested, but hearing and learning it is a must and necessary matter for the youngsters of Mojaddedi family who are in Afghanistan or living abroad. With this very brief information, they will get to know the history of their family in Afghanistan and the personality of their great ancestor Imam Rabbani Mojadded al-Fisani. May Allah be pleased with him. I will summarize this lecture in 4 parts and 2 videos. In the first video, my talk will be on a compact history of the Mojaddedi family in Afghanistan. Then I will talk about the political and religious situation in India before the advent of Imam Rabbani Mojadded al-Fisani rahmatullah alayh. In the second video, I will talk about a short biography of Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mojadded al-Fisani Qaddasallahu Sirrah, and then the peaceful revolution and intellectual jihad of Imam Rabbani Mojadded al-Fisani Qaddasallahu Sirrah. I need to mention that for each of these sections, a seminar of 2 or 3 days are necessary, and I will try to summarize the content of all these several days seminars in about 40 minutes. The first topic is a compact history of the Mojaddedi family in Afghanistan. Hazrat Muhammad Ibrahim, son of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar, grandson of Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu, he had a grandson named Muhammad Ishaq, who came to Herat as a scholar in the 1st century of Hijri with the Muslim army for preaching the religion of Islam. He stayed in Herat until the end of his life. After he passed away, his son Muhammad Farooqi succeeded him and was engaged in preaching and promoting Islam. Muhammad Farooqi conquered the provinces of Kandahar, Zabul, and Ghazni without a fight and left to Kabul, but stopped in Logar province and stayed with his family there. Because he had conquered all these regions without a war weapon, but with weapon of good manners, good character, and piety, he was nicknamed Shah Abul Fath, which means the conquest king. His grave is in a village called Baraki in Logar province, and his name and lineage is recorded in his tombstone. The 5th generation of Sheikh Abul Fath, ya Shah Abul Fath, Sheikh Mahmud, like all his ancestors, was scholar and mujahid. Central Asia, especially Turkmenistan, was converted to Islam with his efforts and blessings. His son was Sheikh Nasiruddin, who was asked by Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi, one of the greatest king of Afghanistan, to settle in Ghazni. When Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi marched to India, he took Sheikh Nasiruddin, eldest son, Sheikh Shahabuddin, with him to India. This Sheikh Shahabuddin later got the nickname of Farrukh Shah. After the conquest of India, Sheikh Shahabuddin was appointed by the king as the governor of Kabul, and for 34 years he served as governor of Kabul province. During the time of Farrukhzad, one of the Ghaznavid kings, due to the chaos and disturbance of the people, the government fell apart, and Sheikh Shahabuddin Farrukh Shah declared the Kabul province independent. At the end of his life, he left the kingdom and practiced austerity in Najrab, one of the valleys of Kapisa province. He was buried there, and the valley is still known as Farrukh Shahi Wali Valley. 10th generation after Farrukh Shah, after Farrukh Shahi Wali, all stayed in and lived in Najrab of Kapisa. Rafiuddin Faruqi was one of those 10th generation after Farrukh Shahi Wali in Najrab. The king of Bukhara, Firuz Shah Taghlaq, when he decided to travel to India, took Sheikh Rafiuddin Faruqi with him to India. When Firuz Shah Taghlaq arrived in the area called Baras or Barlas, 20 kilometers from Sirhind, at the request of the local people, a fort was built by the brother of Sheikh Rafiuddin, and Sheikh Rafiuddin settled there with his family and engaged in the preaching of Islam and guidance. In this way, the first ancestor of Hazrat Mojadded al-Fisani rahmatullah alayhi finally reached to India through Herat, Logar, Kabul and Najrab. The fourth generation of Sheikh Rafiuddin was Khwaja Abdul Ahad, who was the father of Hazrat Imam Rabbani Mojadded al-Fisani rahmatullahi alayhi. I mentioned Sirhind. Sirhind is the village where Hazrat Mojadded al-Fisani Qaddasallahu Sirra and his sons and many other of our ancestors were living and are buried. When great Ahmad Shah Baba decided to conquer India, he sent two Sardar, two commanders, to Shah Masum Sahib Thani and asked for his prayers. Shah Masum Sahib Thani was the grandson of Hazrat Shah Sibghatullah Sahib, and Shah Sibghatullah Sahib himself, rahmatullah alayhi, was the grandson of Hazrat Mojadded al-Fisani Qaddasallahu Sirra. King Timur Shah, the son of Ahmad Shah Baba, sent a delegation to the children of Shah Masum Sahib Thani and invited them to return back to their homeland. They came back to Afghanistan and settled first in Kandahar and later in Kabul. These great people are the ancestors of today's Mojaddedi family. Their graves and their descendants' graves are common places and are visited daily by people throughout Afghanistan. In the Bala Ko, in Ashiqan Arifan, in the city of Kabul, 6th of my ancestors are buried. In the second topic, I will talk about the political and religious situation in India before the advent of Imam Rabbani rahmatullah alayhi. In 1962 lunar Hijri, Jalaluddin Akbar became the third Mughal king of India after the death of his father Humayun Shah. Akbar was a powerful king and ruled in the Indian subcontinent. He was uneducated, and even according to historian, he was illiterate. And the historian of Akbar's court, whose name was Abul Fazl, and who played the most important role in Akbar's misguidance in Akbarnama has described Akbar as pure Ummi, illiterate. Before Akbar, there was an Islamic atmosphere in India. During Akbar's time, bad scholars appeared in the court and laid the ground root to uprooting and destroying Islam in India. In 1982, lunar Hijri, Akbar went for hunting. A state occurred to him, and he ordered the hunting to stop. He called that state a spiritual inspiration from God, a sort of claiming prophecy. After that, he shaved his hair, and his court members did the same. Akbar built a building with a big garden and named it Little Mecca. Hajj trip to Mecca, the pilgrim, was prohibited officially after that. Akbar's milk sibling, Mirza Aziz Koka, called Khan Azam, went to Hajj without informing and getting permission from Akbar. The poet of the court of Akbar, his name was Rahi. He used to say that Akbar's heart is like a receiving revelation from God. In this situation, the sects that called themselves intellectuals, Nuqtawis, Nusayris, Shias, Mehdavis, Behtagis, Brahmans, and Sikhs, all these sects surrounded the king and they grew bigger and bigger. Behtagis were working to eliminate the differences between religions, and Akbar was very much influenced by them. The founder of the Nuqtawis was actually Iranian. His name was Mahmud Peshkhani Gilani. He used to claim that the rule of Islam and the Arabs was only for 800 years, which is over, and now it's the turn of Ajams, non-Arabs, to spread the so-called Mahmud's religion. Shah Abbas Safawi in Iran had killed thousands of Nuqtawis because of this belief, and a large number of Nuqtawis had escaped from Iran to India. One of them, named Mir Said Ali Akbar Tahshibi Kashi, who was a special missionary of Nuqtawis, entered Akbar's court on the order of Abul Fazl and had the greatest influence on Akbar. Another Iranian person from the same hypocrite group, named Sharif Amili, Akbar and Akbar's courtiers loved and respected Amili as a sheikh and mentor. A large number of those Iranians who escaped from Iran had become close friends of Akbar's court. In his book of history, Abul Fazl mentioned a list of 59 court poets, of which 40 were Iranian. Abul Fazl and his father, Mullah Mubarak Nagwari, played a key role in Akbar's religious deviation. They made possible the condition for overthrowing Islam and pulling Akbar from the path of Sharia and deviating him. They were followers of Mashrab Ishraqi. The Ishraqis denied revelation and prophecy. Their slogan was, instead of Kalima Tayyibah, La ilaha illallah, ayadan billah, Akbar Khalifatullah. In 987 lunar Hijri, 1579 AD, Mullah Mubarak wrote a fatwa in support of Akbar, It was called Mahzarnama, the text of which is available in history book of Muntakhab al-Tawarikh. This document was signed by 7 bad scholars in the court. After the approval of this document, in Akbar's territory there was no difference between halal and haram, and Akbar's decree and fatwa became the authority of taqlid. The religion of Islam was called taqlid and considered null and void. Akbar made a confession to enter to his own religion, the Ilahi Deen, the so-called divine religion, and those who accepted his religion had to confess that they were living the so-called misguided, virtual and imitative religion of Islam. Astaghfirullah. Akbar worshipped the sun, fire and light, and Sundays were the special days of worshipping sun. On this day, Akbar asked people to pledge allegiance to his religion. Iranian Mullah Taqi Shishtari, one of the close friends of the court, he used to remember the sun with the words Jallat Azamatahu wa Azza Shanuhu. In the king's palace, they kept the fire burning all the time. They even changed the call for prayer, the azan, according to the so-called divine religion of Akbar. And the followers of this religion used to say Allahu Akbar instead of Assalamu alaikum when they greet each other, and instead of Wa alaikum assalam, they used to say Jalla Jalaluhu. Their purpose was not the takbir and glorify of Allah, but referring to the full name of Akbar, which was Jalaluddin Akbar. Akbar prohibited cow slaughter, and prostrating sajda to Akbar was one of the rituals of the Akbar's new religion. The face of Akbar was called Kaaba of Murad and the Qibla of Hajat, which means the Kaaba of intention and the Qibla of needs. Iranians who had fled from Iran, followers of Hinduism and Sikhism, etc., bad scholars and bad Sufis were close friends of Akbar's court. A notorious Sufi named Tajuddin Ajhudani, nicknamed Tajul Arifin, gave a fatwa that people should prostrate, make sajda to Akbar. During Akbar time, instead of the term prophetic tradition, it was called Ahmadi sect. Akbar painted the Hindu tattoo, Kashka, on his forehead during Hindu ceremonies. He had hired 55 Hindu officers in the Indian army. This was a very short talk about the situation of India before the advent of Hazrat Imam Rabbani Rahmatullah alayhi. Let me briefly explain the meaning of Mojadded al-Thani and the Mojadded. Mojadded al-Thani means the renewal of religion of the beginning of the second 1,000 years after the immigration of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Mecca to Medina. In the authentic hadith, it's said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah yab'athu li hadhihi al-umma ala ra'si kulli mi'ati sana man yujaddidu laha dinaha." For this nation or for this ummah, Allah sends someone to renew the religion in the beginning of every 100 years. It means to eliminate deviation and purify religion from superstitions. Scholars say that because the revelation has been cut off, no other prophet will come after our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Mojadded of every 100 years are the representative of prophets, and the Mojadded of 1,000 years is the representative of Ulul Azm prophet. We have 5 Ulul Azm prophets: Nuh alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which are greater prophets. Mojadded renew the religion of the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and clean it of superstitions. In addition, Hazrat Khwaja Muhammad Masoom Qaddasallahu Sirra, the third son and the successor of Hazrat Mojaddedi al-Thani Rahmatullah alayhi, gave an explanation on this matter at end of second letter of the second volume of Ma'sumiyya Maktubat, and says, let them know that a Mojadded was passed over every 100 years. Mojadded of 100 year is another, and Mojadded of 1,000 year is another. As there is a difference between 100 and 1,000, there is also different between Mojadded of century and millennium. These are just as much different, but even more than that, because whatever of blessings that will come to the nations during that period will come through him. It means through Mojadded millennium. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين.